So I guess I'll start out and just say this is Growing Up Aspen, Adventures of the Unsupervised with Chris Pomeroy. And today we've got Dean Jackson. So there's three of us. And we're with Brad Moore, the guy who put on so many plays around Aspen that it's a thrill to get him on this group chat.
Brad, one thing I think that I took away from doing theater with you in particular, but in general, I left Aspen and went out and studied theater in college, worked as a professional actor for a while, and then up until last year, not for 25 years, didn't act. But the art of collaboration, the art of working as a team towards a particular goal, is, in my opinion, something that works in many areas of life. Because in the interim between when I last did a show and when I just did a movie last year, I was an executive for over 20 years. And that I would not have been successful without the art of collaboration. So
yeah, I mean, theater, I think that's one of the reasons why it becomes such a strong family. Mm-hmm. Is that it is a collaborative art. There's no one person that's any more important than anyone else. You lose one element of that and the show may not go on. And we're working together against all odds. We have a very limited budget, we have a limited time frame, and we're working together to somehow recreate a world, and that it just takes a team. It has to be a team. There have been many of the administrators here at Colorado Mountain College who keep saying, that our theater is the football team of CMC, and I think in many ways that's true. Because you've got to all work together to make that happen. I've quoted this many times in my career, and I'm sure that I will quote it many more times. There was an amazing film that came out in the late 70s called Stuntman, and it was Peter O'Toole, and he plays this wild and crazy film director, and he's talking to this young man, trying to explain to him, kind of what he does, and he just basically he looks at him and he says, "If God could do the things we could do, he'd be a happy man." And I remember that because it's just this notion of everything that we can make happen, the magic, the world that we can do, and Jimmy, you're talking about storytelling. I mean, that's what we are. We're storytellers. We're just storytellers. We just did a play down here that dealt with some pretty heavy topics of suicide and of suicide ideation and mental health and things like that. And the first thing I said in talkbacks afterwards is, we're not experts in that field. What we are is storytellers. So we can share the story with you, and we can help you to understand what this is. And through that, hopefully, a lesson will be gained. I mean, I think good theater is theater that gets you to think, and gets you to talk, and gets you to have conversations. And that also starts in the rehearsal room. We're talking, we're trying to understand, we're trying to put logic to life stories and to people, and whether it's a good guy or a bad guy, we're trying to figure out what makes that person tick. And then in an ideal world, the bad guy is not just, a two-dimensional. There's no good or bad in somebody else's mind. We're all just trying.
Well, and the good guy too is the conflicted anti-hero. So he's always got, Batman for a perfect example.
Exactly. Yeah. Without tragedy and without trauma, there would be no Batman. So, yeah, we collaborate, and we make this art together, and that, I think, is where the family comes from. Because again, we're working against odds. we don't have the money to do what we want to do. We don't have the time to do it. We're running up against this deadline. Al Lyons, who we've mentioned several times here, Al used to say he would want to schedule some sort of a crisis into a rehearsal period that would bring everybody together and would really bond the cast. And my argument was always, why would you schedule it? Now you're going to have two. Something's always going to happen. But yeah, I mean, I think it is just, it's such a bonding experience. Andy, you probably remember that I cast Coach D in South Pacific.
Yeah.
Well, part of that was revenge, because guess who was my homeroom advisor when I was in high school? And he would always tease me, because we're sitting down in the men's locker room listening to the morning announcements coming over the, and everybody there is on the football team except for Brad, who's yeah, I'm an actor. Anyway, and he would always tease me about why do you do what you do, and you should be on a football team, and any real man, and not Coach D. But he came up to me years after that and said, you know what, that was one of the most meaningful things that's happened to me in that school.
Awesome. Wow, that's awesome.
And one year I had Kurt Gregory and Andy Poppinchock in the show, and
that's awesome.
And it was just and Heidi Roop was in.
She was in Greece, wasn't she?
Yeah. And so, it was, what a great experience, right? For the teachers and the students to work together on a project like that.
Yeah.
That takes them out of the classroom and in a place where they're both having to be really pretty vulnerable. I mean, there's nothing that is more humbling than having to stand up on stage and do some lines and sing a song.
That's what was so interesting with going to school in Aspen, was that you kind of experienced a lot of different things that were unique. Like we're talking about outdoor ed. I mean, you're on a week, you're with Coach D for a week up in the mountains or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, or whoever. But it was like you had this experience, and not only were you with those kids that you saw on the school bus, but now you were camping in a tent and hanging out with those kids and having to cook breakfast and oatmeal and get twigs out of the water. And, it's kind of an interesting experience when you, as a community, have that, and that's what I felt like was so special about Aspen during our time, was there was a lot more of that everywhere,
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So cool.
Well, this has been a great discussion. I've enjoyed it a lot. I'm sure Dean, you have too, haven't you?
Brad, I don't think you know just how much I am grateful to you for many, many wonderful memories and many, many lessons. So thank you.
Well, thank you, and I'm grateful to you for for the opportunity to share experiences, and I'm sure I've learned as much from you as you from me, and for all three of you, it's great to see you again, and I can't tell you how much it means to me to know that I've been a part of your lives, and I'm so pleased, and I'm so excited about your book, and it's wonderful to see what happens when people are no longer teenagers and what they do with their lives, and it's awesome to see what all of you are doing. So congratulations on all that, and thank you for the honor of just getting to hang out and share some experiences and some memories today.
Brad, the honor's been all ours.
I sort of feel like we're at that juxtaposition where if we don't record our history and our times, someone else will, and it may not be done right. And so I feel like it's better if it's our own words and our own selves talking about stuff, because it's magic. We lived in a magic world, and we all got to experience that together, whether we were teachers or students or just out there climbing around or whatever. It felt like it like you said, it's something that is unique, and I think the world should see that. That's part of a healing thing that I think we all need to remember that can exist.
Yeah. No, you're so right. It was the reason that I chose to bring my son from Southern California to Aspen and to raise him here.
Yeah.
And he said to me at one point, even when he was in middle school, he said, "Dad, I get it. I understand why you want to do this." And he and I just, we got together a couple days ago and we're talking and once again, he says, "I can't imagine growing up anywhere else." Yeah. So there is this magic that is Aspen and is that community. And, unfortunately, oftentimes we don't see some of that old town until we go to somebody's memorial service,
right?
Whatever. But it's still, there is that community still exists.
Yeah, I think.
And thank you, the three of you, for keeping such a big part of that alive, because you're exactly right. It's up to you and us to keep that story alive, because it really does still exist.
Thanks a lot. I feel like I really do feel like it's more about family than it is about us, in a sense. When we wrote about it, the idea that we have all four of us writing from different perspectives, it's not about one, it's sort of about what we all went through. And in a sense, it's funny because what we wrote, what we talk about, you experienced it, and so did Lou Dawson, and so did Andy Mill. It's like, so I feel like I'm lucky. I feel like we're all lucky, and it's glad we get to show what we're lucky about, for four. Yeah. Thanks for listening. The authors of Growing Up Aspen would like to thank you, and would like to also thank the Aspen Times and the Aspen Daily News for giving us materials for our book, Growing Up Aspen, Adventures of the Unsupervised, which you can get at twistandturnpress.com and any local bookstore. Thanks.